it is the state of the Zionist Israel. Let's see what Scott Ritter has to say about this. Obviously, he did not mention the word they hate each other, but that's what I understand, and hopefully you will agree with me too. Let's take a listen.
I remember once sitting down at a table early on with senior defense officials and foreign ministry officials. There were, maybe a dozen people around the table. And we were talking about issues that one would have thought Israel would have been unified on. There were 12 different points of view. 12 different points of view. Nobody
Wow.
agrees on anything. Everybody believes they have the right, and they were all 12 points of view were soundly defended, articulated. The oftentimes the differences are in nuances, and then on the periphery. But the idea that within the Israeli cabinet there's Gallant and then there's Netanyahu is absurd. Even within Gallant's staff, there will be people who have different points of view, and they will articulate this. Surrounding Netanyahu will be people with different points of view. So the idea that this is a black and white case, it's Gallant's way or Netanyahu's way, it doesn't work that way. Both sides will be working the issue from the periphery, meaning that they will be seeking to take people. You'll try to divide it. This is now we get into shades of gray. If Netanyahu is dark gray, those people whose opinions closely resemble Netanyahu will be hanging around Netanyahu. Light gray is Gallant. Those people are hanging around there. And then what Gallant and Netanyahu are trying to do is poach these people off to sit there and say, I need to get some of these dark gray guys to lighten up and come over here and bring things. So it's a very complicated process. A lot of discussion.
Well, a lot of discussions. Now, on August 31st, there is a report on TRT World. They have published this, where they mentioned that Netanyahu and Gallant, they had a fight, midnight or late night, actually, that's the word they used, late night fight against who? Netanyahu and Gallant. They fought over what? Over the Philadelphia border crossing corridor and hostage release. They cannot agree on one thing, and this is why I say, guys, this Zionist state is collapsing. When you are not unified, if you cannot make your policies, if you do not have a head of state, literally Israel doesn't have a head of state in the sense that one person will say and everybody else will follow. That doesn't happen in the state of Israel. And so now they are disputing, they're arguing, they're debating on basic, simple issues surrounding this Gaza war, this genocide. One group you have, they are extremely genocidal maniacs. For example, Itmar Gavir, that maniac, he wants to wipe out all the Palestinians. On the other hand, you have IDF soldiers, military and general, who believe that this is not how the approach should be. In fact, they have captured some of their own soldiers and put them in jail for not treating the Palestinian prisoners properly. Well, I mean, when I say they were held accountable for not treating Palestinian prison properly, I use the word in loose term. We all know they don't, at the end of the day, care about the Palestinians. But what they do care is their own ego. If you do not abide by my rule, my order, then I'm going to be going against you. And this is happening in the Israeli government and also in the Israeli military. Recently, for example, there were 10, or actually not 10, 20 IDF soldiers who said, we are not going to go back to war in Gaza after they had a short break. They want to go back to their family members. These 20 IDF soldiers were now pushed and forced to rejoin the rank of the army, but then again, these 20 said, we will not fight. In other words, guys, what we are seeing in Israel is a spectacular collapse of unity and the collapse of the country that will come, according to many analysts, in just a matter of a year. Within a year, the whole state will collapse. What kind of collapse that will be, we'll find out later on. But when Scott Ritter, he basically mentioned that they had 12 different ideas 12 different people with 12 different ideas sitting in the cabinet shows that everyone has their own opinion and that this country is doomed. This country cannot decide what it will do, let alone fighting a war against entities like Hezbollah or Hamas or Houthis. Let's take a listen a little bit more, and then I'll make some more comments.
And it's not about Gallant winning over Netanyahu. That isn't going to happen. It's about Gallant winning over enough people who currently surround Netanyahu so that the totality of the opposition can put pressure on Netanyahu. This is about politics. It's really politics, and it's very complicated. In America, we got Republican and Democrat, with a couple independents out there, but mainly Republican and Democrat. In Israel, you have many political parties, and then within the political parties, you have factions. This coalition that Netanyahu has cobbled together is a very weak coalition, hinges on Netanyahu doing exactly what the minority members want because he can't afford to lose any member of this coalition. And so that faction that has, only one or two seats, Netanyahu can't lose them. So that faction now can start making demands of Netanyahu that Netanyahu has to pay attention to, because if they walk away, he's out of government. And so what's happening here is a much more complicated internal dialogue taking place within Israel than maybe people in the West understand.
Okay, so basically they do not have one person to make all the strategies. How can they now deal with Iran when Iran has so many proxies fighting their war? How can you tackle all of these proxies when you do not even have a person in charge to make those strategic decisions? But nevertheless, we see that Benjamin Netanyahu, as I call him, is in power for a very, very long time. He is actually the longest prime minister of Israel in terms of how many years he's in power. He's the best out there they have. But nevertheless, we also have to make mention of this, that it is not about his leadership. Netanyahu's leadership is corrupt. The system is very, very degenerate. We know that. But what strikes me very surprisingly is that no other Knesset member willing to step up and take responsibility of the country. And the reason for that, what I understand, is because, again, no one can unite the whole country. Rather, what they might do is ending up jeopardizing their own life. Means they might become a political prisoner, just like Netanyahu will be very soon. They might be persecuted in Israel, who knows? They might even get killed. So this country is suffering in a big way that we do not see from outside world. Thank you guys. Let me know your comments if you have any. I'll see you in the next video.